Recently, there has been an influx of requests in our comments section for us to create a video discussing the concept of the third eye. As we value and prioritize the ideas and questions shared by our viewers, we have decided to delve into what science has to offer on this topic, despite the absence of scientific and religious evidence supporting its existence. Looking at the history of the third eye, we find that it was Hinduism and Buddhism which were responsible for making this concept popular. According to them, everyone has a third eye in their forehead's middle. They believe then that when a person meditates or when they close their eyes and think about something godly, this eye opens up and brightens. But mind you, it is a religious conviction. This is what Hindus and Buddhists claim. No one has proved it scientifically though. And not only them, the ancient Egyptians have also left some traces of it in their culture. In particular, the Eye of Horus, which can be spotted on pyramids as well as pharaohs' tombs, is more like an emblem of this third eye. Thus, as early as ancient Greece, Plato talked about a spiritual eye, which was very much like the third eye. However, let us now step aside from religion to see what science says about this matter. To investigate that by means of science involves relying on a few scientists' minds concerning this area. One of these scientists would be Andrew Huberman, who is a famous neurologist by profession. In other words, when people say third eye, they refer to the pineal gland according to him as a scientist. Alright, now, what does pineal mean? But first, let us acquaint ourselves with brain anatomy just for a while. The human brain is divided into two primary parts. These sections are themselves composed of smaller components named lobes. All the lobes on each side of the brain are symmetrical. This implies that if a lobe is found at the front side of one part, then it must have a corresponding counterpart in another part. But there is something called the pineal gland situated in between these two parts, which is neither related to them nor symmetrical. What does the pineal gland do? Professor Huberman's research has shown that it primarily functions in producing melatonin. Melatonin facilitates sleep through hormonal regulation. You get sleepy and feel like going to bed when it gets dark mainly due to this hormone, which is melatonin. Interestingly, it not only helps you fall asleep but also doubles as a wake-up alarm clock. A colleague of his, Dr. Rick Strassman from Michigan University, made an astonishing revelation too about this little organ. It produces yet another chemical called DMT. So, what is DMT? It's a substance that, when released within one's body, causes weird and extraordinary conditions to happen. Some claim that what people believe to be the third eye is actually an effect of DMT. It is important to note that the secretion or production of DMT is not limited to human beings only. This substance can be found in several plants as well. These include the ayahuasca plant used by the Amazonians. They say using this plant helps them connect with spirits and other supernatural powers. Interestingly, when scientists studied the effects of ayahuasca, they found it's very similar to what people describe when they say their third eye opens. One guy called René Descartes was among early scientists who wrote about the pineal gland from a scientific point of view. In Cartesius's view, this small organ located deep within the brain was where the soul resided. The soul and consciousness are often mistaken for each other. However, these two are different things entirely. As he held this idea, Descartes argued that there existed a connection between mind and matter via the pineal gland. In essence, it served as a bridge between physical and mental worlds. Despite being centuries old, some investigators still concern themselves with his idea. For example, Dr. Stuart Hameroff suggests that our consciousness might develop through quantum processes happening in this gland. According to Professor Huberman, the third eye is more prominent in animals such as birds and reptiles, specifically snakes, than it does in humans. For example, many snakes have an opening in their skull where light gets into their brain. Where does this light go? To their pineal gland. When scientists studied snakes, they showed that this illuminates their brain and goes through its pineal gland to instruct it that it is daytime and to stay awake, while darkness causes it to release the melatonin hormone, making it fall asleep. Whenever light doesn't reach it and it gets dark, it releases the hormone melatonin and tells the snake to go to sleep. Some reptiles, such as lizards, even have a real eye on top of their head called a parietal eye. This eye has skin covering it, but can sense light and helps control the circadian rhythm of the animal. However, with birds, there's another angle. Bird skulls are very thin, so much so that light passes right through them and reaches their pineal gland, causing what happens with snakes. Nonetheless, both bird brains and snake brains do not resemble human brains because their brains are simpler than human ones. The human brain has the pineal gland situated in a place where there is no light at all. This is an enormous problem because it means that during surgery, the brain is exposed and light can get inside it. So, how does it work? Another scientist, Dr. Brainard of Harvard University, says that our eyes detect light and this information travels to the pineal gland through a complicated pathway, which informs it about the time of day. It's a complex process. When light enters our eyes, certain cells known as retinal ganglion cells become active. These cells contain a substance called melanopsin which reacts to light. When these cells are stimulated, they transmit a message to an area of the brain referred to as the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Consequently, this information gets to the pineal gland, prompting melatonin secretion by this organ. Hence, the pineal gland is not an eye. For a non-light receiving eye, it's imaginary. Now, look up the third eye on Google, and you'll be shown pictures of a third eye in the middle of your forehead. But those who believe in it don't say there's an actual eye there. They claim that this is what happens when you are meditating, and it is not something scientific. Professor Huberman says that human beings have a sense of touch. You can feel whatever part you touch. When you touch your face, leg, hand, or stomach, for instance. However, bear in mind that the brain has no senses. You could say I bumped into a wall with my head and it was painful to me. Yes, that hurt your skull and the areas around your brain, but your brain itself feels nothing. That is why during surgery on the brain itself, doctors use no anesthetic, but instead inject around it as the brain does not feel anything. Nonetheless, it is the brain that makes someone sad or happy among other things. For example, while one feels scared, no feeling occurs in their mind, rather heartbeat increases and hands shake. This is all done by the brain, which itself does not feel but sends sensation where it wants. Many people claim meditation helps to open the third eye. According to Dr. Huberman, when people meditate, they concentrate on a particular thing with their brains, creating a harmonious, quiescent state of mind. But there is yet another fascinating fact about it. Harvard University's meditation researcher, Dr. Sarah Lazar, believes that regular practice of meditation can actually transform the structure of one's brain. The areas responsible for attention and focus, for instance, increase in size as a result of this process. In her research findings, she shows that long-term meditation may indeed impact even on the pineal gland as well. She affirms that those who have practiced meditation for many years have different sized and functioning pineal glands compared to others. However, we are still unsure what exactly these changes imply, but this means there could have been some scientific truth behind those old beliefs relating to the link between meditation and the third eye. An inquiry that interests me is, can people open their third eye? Literally, all human beings have a pineal gland, and therefore every person has a third eye in this sense. However, if we are talking about those supernatural powers displayed in movies, then it is another matter altogether. In Eastern cultures, opening the third eye is hard work and intense meditation, which takes years to master. Some loquacious individuals say that one may accomplish this purpose by using certain types of breath control mechanisms. Others, quite vocal ones, on the other hand, state that specific dietary regimes must be followed. On the contrary, there are even some who believe that there exist particular crystals, such as amethyst, through which anyone's third eye can be opened. However, several psychologists have argued that it might actually be a change in mental state rather than an opening of the third eye sensation. That is to say, when people refer to spiritual experiences or opening of the third eye, they mean changes in how information is processed within our brains, according to Dr. Sam Harris, who is both a neuroscientist and philosopher. No person can fully comprehend the human brain due to its great complexity. We can say that it is the most complex entity in our universe. We cannot be certain whether all we have explained scientifically about the pineal gland is true or not. In summary, the third eye is defined as a sense beyond our five senses. Hence, it is also known as the sixth sense. What does your sixth sense tell you about this topic? Share with us in the comments below, and if you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel.